the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 5:30, streaming now.
And now at 5:30, turning being sick into a way to help others recover. We'll hear from a COVID-19 patient who is very glad he had the option of the type of treatment that President Trump wants to make more widely available.
Topping our lineup today, the extra stress parents are feeling with virtual learning, maybe making things worse for their kids. How to best keep that stress in check. And women are getting creative during the pandemic to keep their companies going while encouraging other women. How female business owners are seeing success banding together. And some crematoriums and funeral homes have raised prices during the pandemic. We're looking into the service, making it easier to find the best prices now and the laws that are in place to protect you.
And Chris, we're looking at the thermometer. That's the big story today. As temperatures reach the 90s for the first time since late July. Hazy, hot, and humid, a 3H day across central Indiana. Our temperature is 90 in Indianapolis. Look to the left of the 90, and on the horizon you see those three kind of shiny objects. Those are the pyramids on the northwest side that you see on 465. Lafayette's at 93. They're down 2 degrees in the last hour. I have to show you this. The dew point temperature may not mean a lot to you, but it does. 65 is when it becomes uncomfortable. The temperature's now in the low 70s, more of a tropical feel. Along I-70, southwest portion then of Hendricks County, northwest Morgan, some rain. Also between Edinburgh and Shelbyville, there'll be some rain that slides through, and you can see what's happening south of Brazil in Clay County. That'll move towards Spencer and slide to the east. These are isolated showers bringing relief from the heat. We'll talk about more widespread rain potential later in the forecast. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Chris?
And I'll take it from here, Kevin. Using plasma from patients who have had COVID-19 to treat current patients battling the virus is looking like a successful treatment option so far. President Trump announced Sunday that he is working to make this plasma more available as the pandemic continues. The FDA just granted an emergency use authorization for the treatment. Here in Central Indiana, IU Health has been studying this and offering this treatment option to its Hoosier patients. We spoke with one of those patients who was hospitalized with COVID for a month and was given the option of convalescent plasma to help him recover. Today, he says he is so thankful for that option.
I'll be honest, I felt 100% better then than I did the day I went on the ventilator.
This study also signals that there may be an improvement in patients that receive the convalescent plasma within the first 4 days, and also if the convalescent plasma has very high levels of antibodies. So it does seem to work. These observational studies are providing us strong signals that it may be effective. So I think for the general population, the first thing to know is, yes, it is safe. Second, it seems to be effective, but we need further studies to be able to reliably say it's scientifically.
For Dave, he said with his experience getting the plasma treatment, it got worse before it got better, but after 3 days, his doctor saw significant improvements with his health. He asked anyone who can be a donor to make an appointment to donate their plasma to help other patients like him to recover from the virus. Chris?
Right now, more than 25,000 firefighters are battling to keep communities safe from wildfires across the western U.S. Nearly 2 million acres have burned as unusually persistent, hot, and dry weather just worsens the problem. Dan Grossman followed a fire crew into one area to show how it's making resources extremely scarce.
Few understand the concept of prioritization.
I just haven't enjoyed a summer for 40 years.
As well as firefighters like Mike Ferris.
I can't think of 1 year that I didn't go out for 6 to 10 weeks, if not longer.
When duty calls, he answers.
So when we get in here, you'll see there's, a mix of burned and unburned.
Typically in the form of driving towards the source of danger that right now has evacuated thousands of people from their homes across the country.
All the resources are either committed, they're on mandatory days off, off or they are signed. There is very few available resources at this time.
Marty Adele is the incident commander for the Grizzly Creek Fire in Colorado, the state's second largest at 30,000 acres. This week, it was priority number one across the country as it commanded nearly 1,000 firefighters to come in and keep the fire from spreading to nearby homes and towns.
It is very, very complex, to say the least.
The biggest comparison in this part of the world is to 2002. Which was a very dry year, also had quite a few fires.
Matt Jaglom is the fire's incident meteorologist, meaning he gives specific weather forecasts that guide life-saving decisions on the ground. He says this year, poor snow followed by unusually prolonged hot and dry weather has made much of the western United States ripe for large wildfires that can burn uncontrollably.
A week of dry weather might dry out the most fine fuels, whereas 6 months of dry weather, everything is going to be dry, and so that's kind of what we've had.
We're aware of 1 cabin burned and 2 outbuildings.
For people like Mike, forecasts like that mean several trips to several dangerous fires in one season.
Right now, the National Interagency Fire Center says resources are at a preparedness level 5, the highest level, as 490 crews from different districts are fighting 148 fires across the country.
We've been well received in this community and in the area especially.
As their priority remains the lives of others before their own. I'm Dan Grossman reporting.
Dan, thank you. Still ahead in our lineup, there's a lot of extra stress on parents and students with remote learning extending into the new school year. How to best keep that stress in check. Most kids starting the school this fall are finding themselves in the same place they were in the spring, at home. Parents and kids are having to make the effort to find a routine that works. Kim Alvadrez says that her 2 twin 6-year-olds, well, they really treat school the same way that they would if they were heading to class, which means having breakfast and breaks at the same time. Now, she does see frustration in her kids for not having that one-on-one teacher help like they would at school and just not being around other students.
It's hard as a mom to watch your kids. Sorry. They want it. They want to be there and they want to be involved, but they can't fully participate. It's just their presence that's counting, and that's their time. So I would say that's my biggest concern.
Kim says that her kids are kept silent during Zoom lessons and are encouraged to not ask questions. And if questions are asked, she says it's limited to 1 or 2. Now, child psychologists say that parents need to work through those struggles and remain positive to help create a better learning environment.
The number one way kids learn is by watching what their parents do. So if a parent can present as optimistic and positive about the fact that their child's at online schooling, the child's going to be more likely to embody that same type of philosophy and mentality and can really be helpful overall to the engagement.
Dr. Jessica Hawks says that parents also need positive routines for kids, which include proper eating and sleeping habits, along with a designated area for kids to do their online work. Now, as for Alvadrez, she says one positive of all of this is that her twins are in the same class, so they have each other. Now, next in our lineup, women are getting creative to keep their businesses going while working to support other women. How these business owners are seeing success in banding together. Laptops and other devices are facing shortages as the school year begins. Now, the AP found 3 companies have told school districts they're short about 5 million laptops. And we're talking big brands like Lenovo, HP, and Dell. Now, it's not just that high demand is to blame for this. Some companies also rely on Chinese suppliers, which have been affected by sanctions from the Trump administration. Now, it is likely that children are spending more time in front of screens with virtual learning. There are some concerns about how their eyes will be affected. Optometrists say the one thing to keep in mind is the younger they are, the more you want to limit that screen time.
There are many recommendations that under 2, there should be no screen time. Under 5, it should be no more than 1 or 2 hours. And then up from there, trying to limit it as much as possible.
Amanda Heiken with Vision to Learn says the 20-20-20 rule can really help offset eye strain and dry eye, which are 2 things that are often the result of spending too much time in front of a screen.
Every 20 minutes, you take a 20-second break looking 20 feet away. So this can even be something that the teachers can incorporate in their lesson plans.
Nearsightedness is also something that children could experience after too much screen time. Experts say spend as much time as outside as possible, whether it's going for a walk or just having some playtime. Blue light, that's another concern. Experts say at this point there's just really not enough evidence showing whether those blue light glasses really work. Now, there are many devices that will allow you to change just how much is admitted. Changing those settings is something that we can do to to protect our sight. Families should see an eye doctor if kids start to feel fatigued. Teachers are trying to pick up which students need more help than others.
It's really compounded this year with health issues, with concerns about the pandemic, with concerns about perhaps being with large groups of people for the first time since maybe since March.
Guidance counselors are getting creative. Many are reaching out to those that have not logged in during the crisis. The American School Counselor Association says that parents really should know that those counselors are there for virtual support. And the good news is states don't appear to be cutting these positions. In fact, some are adding more.
And I think that shows some recognition of the student needs that are out there, that, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with issues of racism and bias that we've been experiencing.
One of the primary roles of guidance counselors is to support social and emotional learning and development. Those are the so-called soft skills that help with a student's overall well-being. Now, there's some very clear research that experts are pointing to. SEL programs are valuable, they say, for helping improve students' career or college success, behaviors, and academics. And there were also, they were found to be protective factors against conduct problems, emotional distress, and drug use.
Well, as you look from the pagoda to downtown Indianapolis yesterday, hopefully you saw the Thunderbirds, the Air Force Thunderbirds around town. I don't think you had to be just at 16th and Georgetown. They did two different flyovers there, but I know they moved around Indianapolis. I was by Eagle Creek Reservoir and got a great view of them on a couple different occasions. So perhaps you have a video on your phone or a picture or two. 90 degrees, that's temperature right now. The west wind, 10 to 15 miles per hour, so it's moving things around a little bit because the humidity is high. Certainly it is a bit on the uncomfortable side. You have to go back to the 27th of July for our temperatures to have reached 90 degrees. At first glance, it's just a little broken line of some showers with isolated thunderstorms just southeast of Terre Haute, just south of Interstate 70. Nice little downpour there. Also northwest of Martinsville, just to the north of Spencer. Then you go south of Greenwood, Shelbyville. It just kind of hop, skip, and a jump across the state. Shelbyville, there's the rain, and then just southeast of Richmond, that's about to leave the state. I think all of this calms down the closer we get to 8 o'clock with the sun setting about 8:30. 71 overnight tonight. We don't really cool off. The next several mornings, I'd say 3, 4 in a row, temperatures will be at 70 or above. As you look at the forecast for tomorrow, just as warm, if not warmer. Now, Lafayette, you won't be any warmer. You hit 95 today. I think that's enough, right? 94 is the warmest temperature we've had in Indy so far this summer. We'll call for 93 tomorrow, 92 on Wednesday, and a little cooler Thursday because more cloud cover and some thunderstorms around. Here's your game plan for tomorrow. By the time we get to 11 a.m., 85 degrees, afternoon temperatures with lots of sunshine in the lower 90s. If we see any showers or thunderstorms, those will be in the northeast portion of the state. There's first thing in the morning. See the storms drop out of Michigan, cutting through northeast Indiana. They'll continue to push to the south and east from there. The theme of the forecast, at least into the weekend, will be the high humidity. The humidity does drop out later in the weekend and temperatures will cool as well. You'll see that revealed in just a little bit when I show you the 7-day forecast.
Postal workers say mail is being delayed like never before. In Nashville, some USPS employees say that large trucks are leaving without any mail several times a week, and that includes express and priority mail.
That is very important mail, like cremated remains, legal documents, things that must be delivered on time. It's guaranteed delivery, and we're not making that guarantee.
The Postmaster General recently said he created a new policy that makes sure that trucks leave on time, and that means trucks won't be allowed to stay a few extra minutes so that mail can be loaded. Now, COVID-19 has hit small businesses particularly hard. 100,000 small businesses have shuttered since the outbreak started, but Chris Conti found a group of women business owners supporting one another during COVID in an industry that is dominated by men.
As certain as the changing tides, the Heidi and Elizabeth pulls into port at the same time each night. The reward for a 14-hour day of fishing off the New Hampshire coast is this weigh-in. But even in this picturesque New England town, COVID has found a way to impact both land and sea.
Our family had to adapt in order to survive.
This boat is named after Heidi Markey. That's her brother Jim at the helm. When COVID hit, wholesalers who would typically buy his fish disappeared.
It was hard for me to watch him not be able to provide for his family.
Heidi couldn't watch the family business sink. So she got to work using her skills as a career corporate marketer. In May, she founded the Daily Haul, a new business that sells fish directly to consumers.
We're pulling in fish every day, and it's not going to the local consumer, so we had to create that market for it.
Heidi quickly realized there were other women in the fishing industry struggling and being underrepresented. So she got to work with her female counterparts to sell their products as well.
The rules have been thrown out the window.
That includes Laura Brown.
I was ready for the best year ever. I was like, I got this.
As the owner of Fox Point Oysters, she had to reinvent herself after COVID. Heidi helped Laura expand to new farmers markets in the area. Both women are in the minority of the fishing industry. Even nationally, only 40% of U.S. businesses are women-owned.
I've had a couple careers in my life, and they've always sort of been male-dominated. So I stopped seeing it for a long time.
And it turns out the spirit of female ingenuity out here is spanning generational gaps.
This is like our first big purchase with the money we've been saving.
Not too many 15-year-olds run their own business.
£1 and 3, so that would be $5.
Even fewer have their commercial lobster fishing license.
It's easy. I mean, it wasn't at first, but it's picked up a lot.
But then there's Ella Byrne.
It's very male-heavy industry. All the guys down there, I'm the only girl who fishes.
With guidance from Heidi, Ella has been able to learn the ins and outs of customer service.
Heidi, she's helped me a lot with this too. She has been a great help in teaching me how to run the business and be supportive, and we all help each other out.
She advertises on Facebook, sells the lobsters she catches right out of her parents' garage. Even as a 15-year-old, she's seen the importance of women supporting one another.
I hope more girls my age see this and think, oh wow, this looks like fun, I want to do that.
She has everything in front of her, and it's really helping mentor and guide her into growing her own business and establishing herself.
So with their livelihoods hanging in the balance, these women are keeping each other afloat, with at least some hope off the horizon.
I think women are underrepresented in a lot of industries, so I think it's important to highlight them.
In Portsmouth, New Hampshire, I'm Chris Conti reporting.
Chris, thank you. Now, finally in our lineup today, some crematoriums and funeral homes have raised prices due to the pandemic. We're taking a look at a service that's making it easier to find the right prices for you and the laws that are in place to protect you. This pandemic has put a real stress on the funeral industry in some parts of the country. Some crematoriums and funeral homes have even raised prices because of the demand.
And what you learn is the variance within a market is extraordinary. You can have a direct cremation for $1,000 or $5,000. You can have a burial for $3,000 or $15,000.
Now, that is the founder of funeralocity.com. You can find the prices for nearly every funeral home in America on the site. That's more than 19,000 locations. Experts say that people rarely shop around when it comes to final preparations.
Survivors are in a grief-stricken state. They just say, oh gosh, we've been to the memorial funeral home down the street for other things. I guess we just call them. And that's what they do. They just call.
A part of the problem is funeral homes don't have to post prices online. They are required to give you the cost over the phone or provide a list in person. The Federal Trade Commission may eventually require that, but when you look at this service, Funeralocity, it is free to use.
We hope that the way we've created our website, where you can mix and match, say, okay, I want a traditional burial with ceremony. I want one without. I just want a direct burial. I just want a direct cremation. Or how about a cremation with ceremony? So we let them play around, and it's all apples to apples to apples to apples, all the other funeral homes in the area.
Funeralocity created a program to give accreditation to funeral homes that are vetted and transparent. Now, there are laws that prevent funeral homes from charging extra because of a particular disease or refusing services because of a disease. Now, recreational marijuana has been a source of controversy in many places. So what happens when its cultivation takes over small communities? Tomorrow, what some areas say are the pros and cons of having large-scale marijuana grow coming to their towns.
I don't really know how many of you would raise your hand if I said, have you been waiting on the heat and humidity to return? But I know some of you enjoy its return. 93 tomorrow, 92 Wednesday. In other words, it's back and it's not really going anywhere. Temperatures do cool down by the end of the week, but our rain chances come up. We'll chase some rain that's out there right now. We'll do that in just a couple of minutes. That's all for the news at 5:30. Now the news starts at 6.